Long Day's Journey into Night by Eugene O'Neill is a play that was first performed in 1956. When it comes to the plot of this play, it revolves around Tyrone family, and it is a tragic play. It is a family drama, so to speak. And the plot itself is not that eventful, is not that exciting, or at least not when it comes to outside events. Everything that is happening and all the drama is actually inside of the characters because it is related to their inner worlds, to their psychological state. And this is because Eugene O'Neill and his plays he was an expressionist, and his plays belonged to expressionism, an art movement that originated in art in 19th century. However, in literature, it is related to the rise of psychoanalysis and interest in consciousness and subconsciousness that actually happened with Freud and Jung and other psychologists. So basically, in this drama, what is important is that Eugene O'Neill, because he uses this expressionist approach, he's concerned more with portrayal of inner states of his characters, of their emotional states, and we can see glimpses of their thought processes and their unresolved trauma and some conflicts and buried issues. We see glimpses of that through their monologues and through their dialogues. So basically, as the title says, everything is happening during the course of one single day. During that day, the family has breakfast, lunch, dinner. Basically, it's a normal day. They live normally through that day. However, they're not able to navigate through a single conversation without provoking each other or stirring the pot or being cynical and like making a comment that is offensive to another family member. And when they do that, when they offend one another, they're quick to apologize, to forgive each other, and to move on to another topic. And this is a cycle that repeats itself throughout the play often, and actually cycles are something that cycles or circularity is a sort of a symbol for this play in general. So basically, through those conversations and conflicts, we learn important things about their family. For example, Mary is the mother, and for her character, we learn that it has a problem with morphine, that she's actually addicted to morphine, and that she has just returned from a sanatorium. And that explains why everybody is so careful around her not to upset her, because she has a problem with nerves, and they are afraid that they're going to trigger her back into her addiction. We also learned that Jamie, who is the father, was once an actor, and that now he owns a lot of land, and that is something that other family members hold against him, and they also think of him as stingy. And for example, James, an older son, he says once, and it says contemptuously in the brackets, "Hardy only charges $1. That's what makes you think he's a fine doctor. If Edmund was a lousy acre of land you wanted, the sky would be a limit." And this is basically a comment that he makes because he is not satisfied with the doctor that his brother has. And basically he shifts blame for his brother's sickness onto his father, and he says, okay, you're stingy, and that's why you don't want to pay for a good doctor. That's why my brother is sick. So basically, yeah, he's pointing finger at him. Furthermore, we also learned that James, the older son, is not very successful, and he's frustrated. He's not satisfied with his life. He tried to be an actor like his father, but he was not successful. And now he has a problem with alcoholism. So we see a pattern now here. These family members, this family in general, has a problem with addiction and escapism also. And I will come back to that later. And we also learned that Edmund, the younger brother, is sick, and they refer to his sickness as summer cold because they don't want to upset Mary, his mother, but it is actually tuberculosis. So yeah, we learn all that. And basically what is happening in this play is that we as the audience, or readers in my case, witness something very personal while reading this play, because this is a family. Everything is happening during one regular day in their lives, and they are at their home. And it's a vulnerable place, it's a very private place, and we are witnessing it. We're witnessing their conflicts and fights, and it's also not comfortable to do that, to experience that. But Eugene O'Neill puts them out there, and he shows something very universal, something to which we all can relate, and he makes us sit through it. So that is something that is very interesting. Now I would like to talk about symbolism. For example, the title is very symbolic itself. On the literal level, everything is happening during the course of one day, of course. But there is also this motif of cycles again, because day, night, night, day, everything is repetitive, and also we have that motif. And again, we have a motif that is related to addiction, to escapism, and basically on a more abstract level, the title is connected to this detachment, dissociation from reality, that as the play progresses, each character experiences on their own. So basically, if the light in day stands for sanity, for clarity, for lightheartedness, when in the morning everything seems not that big of a deal, everything is calm and nice, and they're having their breakfast and talking and laughing, and everything is lighthearted. Then the night would be the opposite. It would stand for darkness, for obscurity, for hiding, for dissociation from reality, and that is exactly what happens. As the play progresses, each character either starts drinking or taking morphine and slowly dissociates from reality and becomes more irritable and more honest, so to speak, but also ready to offend other family members. And yeah, basically that is what's happening. And the culmination of all this is Mary's situation, because as the grand finale happens, she takes her wedding dress, and she has a little moment where she starts talking like she is young again, because in her mind, her young years that she spent in convent, playing the piano and being praised for that, basically those years in her mind are the happiest years of her life, because obviously she romanticized them, having in mind the circumstances that are not so happy now and haven't been since she basically got married. So that's why the wedding dress is a symbol of that shift in her mind. So again, that is a kind of pointing fingers moment, because she kind of blames her marriage in her mind. Her subconscious mind blames her marriage on her unhappiness, because she was so happy before that. She had a bright future in front of her. So that's the grand finale. Also, there is this, again, shifting blame moment that is happening. So, for example, Edmund says once he forces his mother to remember, and because they only just go in circles, they shift blame, they point fingers, and they also don't want to remember the past that happened. So basically, he makes his mother remember what had happened before she went to sanatorium. and it's not pleasant for her. She doesn't want that. And Edmund says, because it's bad for you to forget, the right way is to remember. So you will always be on your guard. You know what's happened before. And that is accountability that is very important, because Edmund finally suggests he wants to break that cycle of guilt-tripping one another or blaming one another. He says, no, it's important to address these things. But that is only one comment. It can't make that big of a change on the grander scheme, which is why it ultimately doesn't break the circle. However, it's an attempt, a kind of an attempt to break this circle. And we have the symbol of the fog, which is also very important and interesting for me. And in her conversation with Kathleen, her servant, Mary says, "It wasn't the fog I minded, Kathleen. I really love fog. It hides you from the world and the world from you. You feel that everything has changed and nothing is what it seemed to be. No one can find you or touch you anymore." So basically, Mary loves the fog because the fog is a symbolic representation of this state, a dream state that is not reality, that allows her to be numb, allows her to be drugged with morphine without accountability, and basically that is everything she wants, not to be found in her dream world, lost. However, she hates the foghorn, as she says, because the foghorn is a representation of her family, and her family is actually reminding her that she is being selfish if she, goes back to her old habits. Because she's a mother and a wife, and she's not only Mary who can do things without those things hurting her loved ones. And also, ultimately, love is the key word, because these people, even though they are very dysfunctional together, it's a dysfunctional family, they ultimately do love each other. They do, and when they offend each other, they're quick to apologize. They really don't want to hurt one another. They're just frustrated, deeply frustrated, because there's a history of not addressing things in this family and in every family, which is why this is very universal. So that's what's happening. However, this love allows them to stay together, and also it's bittersweet, because this love also doesn't allow them to break the cycle. That's what keeps this cycle alive. And ultimately, they will stay in this cycle forever. And that's why the big finale of this play is not something revolutionary. It's just culmination of her madness for that night. But in the morning, everything will be better again, because when the light comes, it doesn't seem as bad. And then it will repeat again and again and again and again. And what is also interesting, and I would like to say finally, is that Eugene O'Neill took inspiration from his personal life for this play, because he had a complicated personal life, a lot of unaddressed issues, unresolved issues, and this play was kind of cathartic experience for him. And when he wrote it, his family members were long dead, but he ultimately wanted to make peace with that part of his life. And while doing so, he created a piece that is very relatable for everyone. It's not comfortable, as I said, because it's not a comfortable topic, but it's a universal one, and it will be relevant always. It was 70 years ago, and it is today, and it will be always relevant.